test one of the new Teslas. So they bought that thing when they knew good and well that Musk was crazy. The weirdest part is there's water coming from somewhere. A lot of it. I was thinking about how yesterday I couldn't get the GoPro to power up because it said it had an insufficient power supply. Today, using the same power supply, no problems at all. And I was reading about that on the forum. They were talking about how the idiots said that make these things have something wonky in the firmware that does this battery check that's flawed. And there's a way you can hack it and just disable that. And there's a lot of work that goes, I mean, it's not too terribly a lot of work, but I'm just worried about, I always worry about putting hacks on things and not knowing the source of where they came from. But people swear up and down by it. And if I have to go that far to get the stuff to work, why, you know, why buy it? I should have just built my own. Especially when I'm sitting here and got a battery pack, external battery pack plugged into it. I could have just built my own and had the same dorky look. Instead, I got the battery door pulled off of this thing, the battery pulled out, this wire coming down off of my head. It's just dumb. Anyway, I can't endorse I can't endorse GoPros anymore. Truthfully, I probably can't endorse any action camera in Dallas. You're better off getting a hold of a jittery body cam and just hoping for the best. That's if you're just using it for neighborhood watch purposes. If you're trying to get good footage, once again, I probably would just recommend a regular camera and just figure out a way to rig it up to where you can get great shots. They say the action cameras fill a niche. They don't even do that. Your choices are basically stay super amateur or go super pro. No, the problem is this all points to the two things that everybody talks about: the confusopoly and the enshittification. At the end of the day, it's the company will cut everything down to the bone to give you a crappy product that isn't what you're looking for. And they're telling you, you got to pay a high cost. It's a high cost to settle. They're forcing you to pay for something that you really, like I said, that you don't want. This camera has the ability to record in 5.3K, which doesn't mean shit. Consider that most devices out there, and like the 8K TVs aren't selling. So it's looking like it's going to be one of those things they try to foist upon consumers, and consumers weren't biting. It might get to the point where I just go back down to 1080p. I like 4K, don't get me wrong, it's kind of neat, but it's not totally necessary. On a day like this where not too much is happening, I might just film down to 1080p and just like the fact that it does pretty good with the motion capture. You just won't see all the details. Oh well. But they're selling 4K, and they're not building the hardware to support 4K. They're building 8K, and they don't have enough people buying to justify making 8K or making a viable, reliable 8K camera. My Insta360, I can honestly say I don't see myself ever filming in 8K. But then again, I never saw myself filming in 4K on my old Hero 5 and 7. Anyway. Was going to kind of use the walk to talk about how much I love indie animation. And what sucks about what I was watching is a YouTube video by a guy. His channel's called, I think, Cartoon Universe. And I've watched a couple of his critique videos and didn't think much of them. But this time around, he really broke down why you don't see, you'll see a lot of pilots on the air and stuff looks really good, and why it never moves past the pilot point. And he was saying for his own animated pilot that he came out with, which wasn't, you know, it's not the greatest thing in the world. It doesn't have all the flashy animation. The characters have limited movement. He said just to put together that pilot cost him 20 grand. So a lot of times when you see a pilot up there on YouTube, that's something that cost somebody, unless it took them a really long time, on average it costs them between 10 and 20 grand to put that together. I just can't believe that the cost of filming has gone up that much. I mean, the inflation's gotten that bad. When George Romero made Night of the Living Dead, I think it cost him $10,000, which adjusted for inflation is somewhere in the ballpark of like $120,000. $120,000 to make a 2-hour movie. And these guys today can't make a 10-20 minute pilot for under 10 grand. A lot of my favorite shows, like I said, I was paying for stuff on Patreon, but it gets to the point where I'm paying like $50 to $75 a month for Patreon. I'm supporting urbanist content, paying for archives, and then supporting some animators. I supported more, and then one of them I was mad because he didn't seem to be making any progress. And then when he finally pled his case, I was like, okay, why didn't you do that before I yanked support? He finally started putting in transparency, because before it looked like he just kind of had a lackadaisical attitude. Well, we'll get it when we get it. And he was putting out maybe 1 episode a year, if we were lucky. Whereas other people were putting out 1 episode like every 3 to 6 months. Come to find out that he was paying guys $30,000-$40,000 to animate 30% of his cartoon, and then he himself had to do the rest of it, the 70% by himself. And there's a lot of that. I started watching one called Starbarians, which was like a funny crude homage to the Saturday morning cartoons I used to watch when I was a kid that had all the flash and the violence and everything. And that guy was making cartoons. It takes him 48 years to make each episode. And the fans make jokes about it, but they really appreciate what he does. It took me about an hour to watch the 3 or 4 episodes that he had up there, and some additional content. But for him, that was a labor of like 14 plus years. There are a lot of good ideas out there. There are a lot of fun stories. But there's not enough. There's not enough help to go around. It's this neighborhood, man. Like, I was up there talking, I should have been talking more. And then as soon as I come down here, it's too much. And then you throw in an added wrinkle with all this chaos, bad driving, and busy street, or busy sidewalk, the occasional loose dog. I might be shell shocked for a while. I usually am after a dog bite. See, case in point. I'd be trying to have a conversation with myself and I get nailed by Junior there. I can be mad at him, but that was me. Riding up and down the sidewalk. Because it'd be idiotic to try to ride the streets with all these assholes driving around, using this as kind of a temporary highway because they don't want to use the other paths. Park lanes is cut through, and they used to have speed bumps all up and down it. Park Lane has a lot of potential as an alternative transit biking corridor. People don't realize just how, like, this street goes all the way to Brockbank. It goes from one side of Dallas over here in the west all the way to Abrams Road and beyond. You can get across the DFW Metroplex just taking Park Lane here. But it's a funny thing, you start to see, taking a drive down or taking a walk down, or I've walked down it, But going all the way down Park Lane is a study in NIMBYism. Down here it's wide, there's plenty of space, there's a lot of infrastructure that supports drivers. It makes it easy for them. And then if I could keep going down, as you pass the tollway, it starts turning into this NIMBY nightmare where it's extremely narrow, there's no shoulder on it, nobody parks on it, lots and lots of stop signs, trying to discourage people from driving through there. But it doesn't work. One thing I can say about Park Lane is it is highly inconsistent when it comes to trying to walk down it. I used to try to jog, and I thought, okay, I can jog down it. It's like, there's not going to be that much traffic, and there was just tons of people. I was like, why are all these people driving up and down here? Because of how far it goes. You got the assholes over at North Haven. At North Haven and around there, that's, you know, you see where Park Lane just kind of turns into this narrow mess. Like I said, no shoulder, no sidewalk. If you're running in the streets, people are honking at you. They're driving around you super fast. I just had to learn how to tune them out. And then you hit Preston Road and it gets really aggressive. They try to get it to snake different ways, but if you're bold enough, you can get through that little area. Same kid, looks like it. I guess there's a reason why nobody has a YouTube channel called Taking a Walk with a Comedian. Comedians walking to the coffee shop. Comedians walking to get coffee. I'm gonna have to see if I can find something like that. Walking with a celebrity. I don't think such a thing exists. It'd be like Hot Ones, only with like I said, with pedometers. But it's really hard to lie when you're sitting there when you're exerting a lot of effort to walk around, and you're sitting there breathing. Whew, can we stop for a second? Yeah, man. He's catching his breath, and you're asking him about the scandal that happened one time. And then all the random people that would just come up to you. I'm just going to quietly listen to Shalimar and hope that nothing pops out over here. I mean, they just took over the whole goddamn sidewalk and driveway. Hell, they're blocking the goddamn road. Fucking assholes. And shit like that is, you know. Anyway. Well, that's Larga. They just look at you with that stupid look. You know what you're doing. You know you ain't supposed to be blocking the stuff up like that. The weird thing about Larga is it's not an obscure street that nobody hardly ever comes down. There's way too many people coming down here. No, but this is one of the streets I ignored, and now like I said, I'm showcasing why. Don't come down Larga, ever. Don't come down it with wheels. Don't come down it with two legs. I don't even think tanks should come down here. They'd be better off just sealing off the street and turning it into the parking lot that it is. Same fucking asshole. As soon as I said something, tore his ass out of there. Why leave now? It was okay when I wasn't here. My problem is that the J&RR concrete people, they act like they own this area. From the land of Chihuahua. to think that, like I said, the best songs come on when I'm in the worst neighborhoods, but the reality of the situation is I keep going down the worst neighborhoods. It's just that I only have time for a 2-mile walk. I could probably stop all that. I'll just give up on this whole area and just go up to Midway and come back. That's what I did before, right? Alright, now I know why I never see anybody in the front. I'm coming through the back alley. Which means that there was somebody, yeah, there was somebody there that day. Poor guy. You know, as bad as it was for me, imagine having, this is your job, to have to be coming down this sorry street.